I'm very happy to introduce Lou Barnell. Lou is a sound and multimedia artist and researcher working in wearable tech, voice, sculpture and movement, the theory behind it, including live dreaming. Please give her a huge round of applause. Welcome her to the stage.
Hello. Yeah, this is on. Hello, my name is Lou, and thank you for the lovely intro. What a pleasure to be invited. And thank you so much to Chris and Kalina for their fantastic presentations earlier. I am a late 30s-ish white woman with big blonde hair. I'm wearing a semi-opaque white collar around my neck, which has a strange heart-shaped box on the front and a tentacle-like growth. It is my musical instrument, which I designed in collaboration with a few people. I'm going to show you a video which I hope is going to describe the process more articulately than I can. So I'll introduce a bit about my methods and why I make this sort of instrumentation. This video aims to explain how I will articulate and explore live dreaming within practice and performance and methodology. Let's start with a few of my past performance and composition works to give context and show proof of concept. In this piece, Melter, I created a series of wearable instruments that sonified my heart rate, muscle flexes, and fragmented my voice. It also sonified the audience proximity, triggering sound within audience range. With this, I wanted to create a slippery liminal space, like a dream. This was also where I began sculpting with ice and thermoplastic to create shape-shifting collaborations with materials. In the next piece, Comfort Me Often, I abstracted these elements and began to use fragments of text from my late mother's diaries and my dream journal, overlaid with some of the footage of the performance to further explore alienation and navigation through text fragments, visuals and sound, as well as wearable instruments. In these previous works, Takis and what came before this, I explored material and societal alienation using visceral sonic textures and plastic structures worn on the body to restrict, augment and contain me. These past works helped to situate my practical methodology and are the basis upon which I began to use these mediums in performance to embody and approximate this malleable alchemical dream space, which has its own life. In all of these previous works, you can see I used staccato, repetitive movements combined with preoccupied stillness. I'm looking into the performed and alienated neurodivergent body as a repeated and unsustainable act. Repetition and revisitation is a way to develop material and embodied knowledges. Throughout my research, I will develop work as a series of evolving and devolving diffractive drafts. In this video, I talk about my practical methodology in 3 strands, the first of which is materials. I'm exploring alchemical materials by working with live sculptures in performance made of ice and thermoplastic. These have a continuous future and past. From a neurodivergent perspective, melting and reforming materials enhance and inhibit and augment our sound-making and orientation abilities. I'm interested in materials as a way of transforming aesthetic experience to kinesthetic knowledge. This melting and reforming mirrors the mutually effective feedback loop created by dream life and waking life and cyclical creation of self through music making. Materials have their own lives, and so do dreams. My experimentation includes a variety of mediums that create unexpected relationships. These forms have been used to make text scores, along with fragments of text from dream journals. Texts become objects that melt and reform. The second key strand of methodology is wearable technology. I was inspired to create experiments with wearable tech when I made a simple sonified motion sensor using open source software by Hen Zimmerman. The reasons for my exploration in wearable tech are threefold. Firstly, I want to explore autonomous music making that overcomes my challenges with motor skills and processing. Secondly, I want to explore more than human relationships that can help us wayfind and navigate alienating environments. Thirdly, by using muscle flexes, voice, environmental and biorhythmic data, I want to approximate the cyclical reproduction of cells in the performance dream. In collaboration with Robin Foster, here is a prototyped suite of wearable instruments you can see. Using MyAware sensors, heart rate monitors and Max for Live, these translate muscle flexes and heart rate into music by triggering and augmenting samples. The heart rate monitor is mapped across zones that trigger samples when my heart rate reaches above a certain threshold. The final strand that underpins my methodological approach is embodied listening and voice. I've been undertaking public workshops which test ideas inspired by artists and composers Pauline Oliveros, Ione and Heloise Gold, who use embodied deep listening practice. In a recent workshop at the Dream Palace Symposium in Athens, participants were invited to listen to global and focal sounds as a meditation practice. We used the voice to tune into our surroundings and feel the vibrations of others as they sang. I would argue that embodied listening allows us to enter a soft, dreamlike space which could help to mitigate and navigate sensory overload. My most recent work, Line for Thurgoland, was a series of 3 text scores performed with a group of vocalists in an ex-railway tunnel with a remarkable reverb profile which lent itself to unstable and exciting musical interpretations to create alchemical possibilities at the edge of our perception. The score you're hearing now is called Peripheries. It reads as follows. Position yourselves on either side of the tunnel, sing single notes at the length of a breath, modulate your volume so you're able to hear all other sounds. With your eyes closed, try to match what you perceive to be the note of the person opposite. The following and final footage shows the creation and performance of another current piece of work called To Fly Out in the Heat of Day. This process shows all 3 strands of my methodology working together: materials, wearable technology, and finally, as you can see from the performance, voice and embodied listening. Before I leave you to watch this, I'll explain that a wearable sound material sculpture and instrument is being made for the project using reusable thermoplastic, silicon and breakthrough electromyography sensors that process live muscle flex data into a wearable granular synth and vocal pedal that augments and splinters and loops my vocals depending on the duration and number of muscle flexes it detects. It has been created in collaboration with artists and researchers Courtney Reed and Robin Foster and sculptor Anthony Bennett.
So that's how this got made. There's another video. This is quite video heavy, this presentation, purely because the video is my secret weapon for articulating myself. It means that I can be really clear and save time. So we're going to swiftly move on to the second video, which shows a quick breakdown of the components that were made to create this collar. And then we're going to skip through, I think, to straight to a demo of this. But there are examples of the performance of this, if we don't get that far, because we're short on time. There's examples of this on my website, and I'd obviously love to talk to you about it at the end. So thank you so much, Rob. We are going to play the next video. This is a bit of an intro, as promised, to the wearable instrument performed to fly out in the heat of day. I haven't put anything into the wearable encasement because I wanted to show you how it works. So we've got a bellow board here. It's all really messy and wiry, but here's the bellow board. There are 2 MyoWare sensors. And the bellow board is powered by a 5-volt battery. What just happened was, because I flexed this muscle 3 times in 2 minutes, everything stopped. And when I was talking, this muscle created 6 flexes, 5 flexes to record arm, and then 6 flexes to record. And once it's recording random lengths of samples of my voice. And on an XY axis, when I'm flexing like this, grains are being released from a granular synth. So the audio is being fed into the bellow board through an audio in here, and the audio going out is here, and the audio out is being transmitted through 2 stereo transmitters, which is here. You can see that everything is in plastic. And this is because if it touches each other, it will short out. So everything had to be put in electrical tape. It also can't touch anything that's plugged into the wall. So before I put this into the encasement and talk you through more about the performance, I'm going to have a little jam with it. Bitterness remains. So the instrument is called Jennifer, just because I really like the name Jennifer. She can be very unpredictable. She's a very unpredictable collaborator. Are there any Jennifers in the audience? Oh, all right, okay. I really like the name Jennifer anyway. So the reason that I called the instrument a sort of name as well is because I'm interested in this relationship between things that are supposed to make music making easier, and sometimes they don't. So we're going to demo the instrument now and turn up both of this is going through 2 vocal channels on the mixer. Something I should also mention is that I mentioned dreaming a lot in the first video, and I think the reason I mentioned dreaming is because I'm interested in the concept of the live dream. And what I think about the live dream is that music making in performance and dreaming are quite similar in their human function. I believe that they allow us to find our way in confusing and alienating circumstances. And I find that quite a lot of modern life and life as a neurodivergent person can be quite confusing and quite alienating. So I'm really interested in this soft space that we can create with these squishy materials and these fragmented and different kind of materials. And I'm interested in something called synaesthesia, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, which is the
hearing and processing of sound and different sensory elements in a very kind of connected in constellation way. So, you know, sounds might have smells, or they might have colours. So I kind of want to explode that in my practice to reflect how I process sound. So let's give it a go and see if she works today. She might feel like hanging out with us, she might not. I'm going to put this mic away. Oh yeah, she does want to play. Here we play. I'm going to leave it there because I know we're short on time. But I wanted to also Thank you very much for that. Thank you for your help on the sound as well. Thank you. Thanks, folks. I also just wanted to explain that when we spoke about it having a granular synth in it, there is a granular synth inside the instrument. For those of you who may not have heard of granular synthesis, it is taking lots and lots of very small samples from one piece of audio. So it's recording my voice and spitting out loads of different samples. And those are triggered in various ways. But that just sort of explains what the synthesis part of it's doing. And the other part is looping it like a loop pedal. Because I wasn't sure if that was completely clear from the video. But thank you so much for having me. There is a full video of the performance. I don't think we've got time for it tonight, but there's a full video of the performance on it on my website. My name is Lou Barnell. So keep in touch, check out my website, and I'd love to hear from you if you want to join my mailing list and all that. Shameless self-plug, but, yeah, but do keep in touch because I'd love to hear from you, and thank you very, very much. And thanks to Tim and the team, and Chris, and Kalina, and everyone else who's presented. Thank you so much.
Absolutely amazing. Oh, my sound working? Yes, absolutely amazing. Thanks, Lou. We do actually have a couple of minutes, so does anybody have any questions for Lou before we finish up? Anyone in the room? Is there any questions online? Not online. There was, brilliant, yes.
Hi, Lou. Hi. I just wanted to ask, watching that, I was thinking, I wonder, because I know dreaming's important, and I wondered where the movements kind of lock into the philosophy about dreaming.
So that's a great question. Thank you so much, Nicola. I use movements and touch as a way to regulate, self-regulate, and I've tried to think about the idea that when you revisit something or you do it at a different pace, it can be interpreted completely differently or can be quite freeing. So things like this or this sort of gesture are things that they're not things I would do to self-regulate day to day, but they're things that I find enjoyable to do with my arms. I find them instantly gratifying. And they're also like big, exaggerated versions of the way that I sort of move. So I quite like to do that. And it's almost like exaggerating them like they're a dream. So they become this dream space. And I think everything that we do in terms of music making, performing day to day is all about finding our way. And so the movements are kind of a gradual process of finding my way. It's always about a discovery, whether that's in front of the audience or in my rehearsals. You know, it's like, how do I discover new things? Some of them are very everyday movements I've just made massive, you know, as well. Thank you for that. It's a really lovely question.
Moment. Let's not do that. Okay. Trip over the cables. Deborah, have we got any online questions?
Oh, there's someone to the left.
Is that right? Great. Someone at the back. Hold on. You have to speak into the mic, otherwise they can't hear you online.
Thank you. Hi, Lou. Sorry, completely ignore my question if it's no relevance to you at all. But do you know the artist Matthew Barney at all? Because you do. Because when I was watching this, it really reminded me, for some reason, of he has some art called the Creme Master Cycle, which is very much about sort of visions and dreams and, you know, surrealism and sort of slimy things and textures. And really, I don't know, I just wondered if your influences, obviously they come from yourself, but do you have influences outside of yourself as well?
Thank you. That's such a great question. Thank you. I went to see my first Matthew Barney exhibition in the summer, and I was joined by this amazing mentor who was teaching me about movement and in response to art galleries. And it blew my mind. And what was so interesting is that the work with all the squishy stuff, there was someone playing American football and they had a big fistful of the squishy material and they were like doing that. And I was like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh, wow. Like, so yeah. And then I sort of looped back and thought, oh, wow, there's a lot of like overlap in the way that we are thinking about sculpture, thinking about storytelling, thinking about fragments. Other people that I'm influenced by are people like Florence Peake is a movement artist and uses sculpture and singing to like go into a sort of dream space, and you know, and move herself and others into a dream state and use these really tactile, physical materials like plaster and clay to do that. And Pauline Oliveros is a composer, and her partner Ione both look at listening with your whole body and like deep listening. Do you know Pauline Oliveros and Ione? Anyone? No, they're amazing. It's like, please check them out because they're gorgeous, and they've got some really wonderful, really inclusive scores to share called Sonic Meditations, and I think they're really beautiful tools for centering the self, for listening and for wayfinding, and they're based on sort of listening with your whole body. And I think they're like some of the most rich work, I think, in composition in the 20th century ever. So I don't think that's overstatement, actually. I think that's probably true. So those are a few influences, but thank you for the Matthew Barney question. That was lovely. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. So I think we have to leave it there. We have one more round of applause for Lou Barnell, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Absolutely amazing work.